Okay, hello to everyone. Let's start the stream. So I have few SNTs running now, and then we also have one MTT here. Not huge amount has happened in the MTT yet. There was in here I called against this guy shoving. I think it's probably quite marginal spot. Shoving 15 big blind. There is antis in the play. Without antis, I would definitely fold here, but I think with the antis and with lane range usually being somewhat kept when he open shoves, it should be fine to call, but he had better. And then before that, there was kind of interesting one in here. So I open raised. There was two people calling. Flop was pretty nice for me overall. I went for a bit below, like 40% C, but both of them call somehow has hit on the flop, it seems. Turn is pretty nice because now we have the open-ended straight draw here. I went for check. This guy bets half of pot. I think we have to call here pretty much, and we hit the straight here. There is also backdoor flush draw, but I'm not too worried about that. I decided to don't shove here in hope that, because problem is that if I check, will might be checking back. Even some two pairs, maybe even set sometimes, because it's kind of a scary board. So hopes that he had something like that would make a lot of sense overall for his line. Call flop, bet turn. So, but he folded it here, so. Unfortunately. So we are basically at starting stack depth at that point. And if you have any comments, questions, opinions, talk of any topic, please feel free to use the chat. A6 here. Don't love the situation when he 4x's. It's okay to call, but I just think that we tend to be in kind of a nasty spot, because we are flopping so badly with ace like that. In here, William has donk bet 3 street. There is flush draw, but I don't think he has that too often. I think we have to raise with the not trips here, and we also block the flush. Of course, if he shoves over that, then it's going to be a really nasty one. And not too much point in betting here, just trying to check the showdown. I just flatted here. I mean, we can 3-bet, but it's for the big blind. I think it's kind of borderline to stack off. The ace-10 we could sometimes 3-bet here with the re-steal type of play. unfortunately river on the outside table. This guy don't bet's pretty big. I don't have anything really, not even backdoor flush draw or something, so just give up. And I think we have the call here on the top left. It's extremely unlikely he has the queen. He might have the 8, but I would imagine that there is decent chance that he would bet the 8 on the turn again. Not this time. Because basically turn is pretty great for him if he has the 8x here. And not too much point in betting into table 1. We have decent showdown value here, so, and of course have to call that one river, not the greatest one, and we can't really value bet. He can easily have better hands, even some 2 pairs that he's check calling. Interesting flop in the MTT. I'm just going to check call here. Of course, equity wise we can definitely check raise as well, but it's pretty nice because we can have some top pair with the flush draw in our range, and this is pretty great spot to bet big because we are going to basically value bet only full houses at this point. So if he's going to bluff catch, he might be eager to call, and we got a high to call over on the bit over pot size bet here, so pretty nice. Pretty nice one. I've been thinking about adding some music on the stream as well, but I have not done it yet. Not sure how that type the Q-Play, for example, has that you can request the songs. How does it? Is it some sort of feature on the Twitch? It might be, but we don't need to defend here with King 5. Definitely sort of hand that we can just let go. Let's go for like 3-bet here. Decent AX blocker for it. I'm not doing too much of usually offsuit ace type of hands for the like 3-bets, but I think that sort of hand is pretty reasonable, that we have some postal playability still, and it's not quite strong enough to be calling against the raise. Anyway, basically, I think this is second session for this month for me, so has been pretty bad month from the volume side. Has had been like over a week, basically 6 so, or around week so. But yeah, playing when you are sick is not something I would recommend. Kind of special game on the top right in a way that this has been three-handed, so 2 players dropping extremely early. It's relatively rare situation. And ace 10, not too much point in 3-betting pre-flop. Nice to have such a strong ace in the flatting range, so we have some strong hands in situations like this. Of course, it's not awesome to face 3 street if the villain is going for it, but really big sizing. But I can't really fold here. And I think it probably makes most sense to just shove here, because if he has some flush draw type of hand, he's going to force to call at that point pretty much. And I can't really fold reverse much at all if I call. Oh yeah, he was probably barreling some sort of queen 10 or something like that. I would imagine would make some sense. To still fold, I mean flush draws he shouldn't be folding anymore. I will go for raise with the 7s. If he's going to 3-bet, it's probably going to be non-all-in sizing. And on the top bottom left, not awesome situation, but pocket X is a bit too strong to be folded. Wrong ways. We even hit the set, but not enough. Not enough. King, queen, we can definitely think about check raising if the villain c-bets. We can have some straight draw type of hands. We could also go for check raise here, and this is basically the best king x we are, well, outside of 2 pairs of course, but so I think I will go for relatively small check raise. It's really dry flop. Jack 10, pretty nice hand to limp and call against reasonable sizing. We could bet here on the flop, but I think check calling is decent option as well, especially when we have the jack of spades, so it will give some extra protection. I think kind of close spot here, but this guy is probably not folding anymore, and he might have really strong hands as well. On the top left, top right, I think we have the call here. And he was actually betting weaker. Check. Let's hope that big blind doesn't 3-bet shove. It's still relatively nice playable hand, so don't want to be open folding either. Unfortunately, we can't really stack off here. And really crappy flop on the top left. Check, check, and 6 on the river. That would be a pretty nice one. well, we might have the best hand sometimes. Anyway, well, less likely at that point. Wow, pocket 9s. That guy was really slow playing. King 3, of course, great pot odds and so on, but we are quite easily dominated. Of course, it doesn't matter that much, and we also don't flop that well with that hand, so I think it's fine to still fold on the. Oh, I had the zoom on. Well, it was on the top bottom left anyway. Well, can't call with the a6. Well, yeah, this sort of situation is much more common, that we have like four-handed on the top left, still four-handed situation with that blind level compared to this top right game. A queen 7 could be kind of marginal, I suppose. Open shove. I think it's a bit outside of the nice range, to be honest. Well, unfortunately, splitting on the bottom left, we were dominating. And now on the bubble on the top left as well. Well, I could have gone for open on all in the top left, but doesn't matter that much. Usually in the heads up, I'm going to be raising mostly with these sort of clearly over 20 big blind stack depths. But if the wheel lane happens to be like he's starting 3-betting a lot, then we can think about. We have 11 big blind. I will go for non-all-in. It should be a bit better to shove than open fold. Not much though. It's quite marginal with that crappy offsuit ace. And on the heads up, just trying to check to showdown. We have decent showdown value. Checks the river. I think we can value bet the fourth pair. I mean, Villain should never have a queen or jack at this point anymore. Maybe sometimes 10x. But I think we can try to make smallish bet here. Six-5 is decent hands to be played. And I will go for check raised here. Really try flop. We have some equity. Outside the table, unfortunately. Jacks versus aces situation. So it was quite marginal, relatively deep, and I was cold 4-bet shoving here against the 3-bet, so bit marginal situation anyway. Nasty, nasty. So this was small blind calling. He shouldn't be hitting that well. That well on flop like that, so I will go for thin values plus protection. But of course the downside is that if the villain go for check raise, it can be a bit tricky, but I would be calling mainly here with the backdoor nut flush draw as well. And we can likely go for triple barrel here. Of course sometimes he might have like a6 or something like that. Oh well, nasty bubble on the top left. And king 7 is relatively close, but big blind is also quite shallow, so we don't probably have a huge amount of fold equity against him. Obviously if we raise we have to stack off against the big blind. On the bottom left we could also open shove here, I mean shove against the limp, but at the same time ace-jack suited is such a great, nicely playable hand post-flop that I want to be raising small more preferably. On the top right, actually quite nice card in a way. Of course having club would be nice, but we can put a lot of pressure on this card and we have the guts still, so I will actually double barrel here. We might even get 10x to fold sometimes. On the bottom left we could also shove against the limp, I think it would be plus EV. Well, this guy has been extremely aggressive. I think we have to still call even against that sizing with the backdoor flush draw and some straight draw and middle pair. And I will... we can shove here as well, but we could also just flat and try to get him to spew sometimes with some total air. Of course the downside is that there might be some bad reverse like this, but I will call anyway. Anyway here. Oh well. Well, this guy seems to like this flop, and so I will just raise right away here. We are not ultra deep any either, so a very coordinated flop on the top right. So let's size up somewhat on the c-bet sizing. And set up. Well, Villain had total air, but he managed to hit. Managed to hit with it anyway. Hello to Warpal, stream Steam stalled. Yeah, I seem to have frames dropping. It's the downside of having 4G connection. Sometimes it works nice, sometimes not. Should probably reboot my router once again. Maybe helps. Unfortunately, good promotion ended on the Unibet. Now we only have this slot thing that probably doesn't give anything. If you're lucky, you get some cash tickets, but well, of course it's pretty nice if you are playing normally those sort of cash game limits, for example. But if not, those are kind of almost useless. What I do usually with those cash tickets is that I just waste half of its start value, so you can then after, if you, for example, if you get 10 euro cash ticket, if you only have bit below 5 euro and use it out, it will be changed into actual money way, because otherwise you need to play 300 flops to actually get the ticket into actual money, and playing in somewhat sensible way, 300 flops will be taking quite a lot of hands. Well, sort of interesting flop. Could also see bet small tier and probably stack off if he raises, or not fold anyway, because we had backdoor flush draw to overcard cut shot. I don't think these situations on the bottom left are necessarily mandatory ISO races, but I think there tends to still be somewhat plus EV. But of course, the issue is that usually you are not going to get people to fold right away, and the hand will be playing quite badly. On the top left, I decided to raise light against the limp to balance out times we have something a bit better. Oh well. Pot betting quickly on the river. We can probably let go pretty much the weakest flush possible. Well, these are kind of tricky spot to continue because I think usually people are not going to raise here with the flush straight draws. So it's mainly going to be better made hand or sometimes like A or queen high flush draw. I think on the top right we can ISO raise or limp behind. Both of the options are pretty decent, but by raising we allow us to win a bit more often without actually hitting this guy making min bet. Well, it's extremely dry flop overall, so let's try to raise anyway. Even though we don't really have anything, but okay. Well, that really didn't go exactly great. But yeah, we can't fold it anyway against that min bet, have to call at least. And king jack, unfortunately, bit on the weak side. I think against the UTG or hijack, one player sitting out. So let's try the limp step. 7-5 still has some playability. It's kind of a scare card if the villain has some sort of weak pair. Top 2 pair on the top right. Well, that was one lucky river. I was thinking about 3-betting 8-jack, but then I noticed that the lane has extremely small stack depth. And these are once again these weird lines. And the MTT, this flop way favors the will lane quite a lot. I think on the turn we could try to represent some Jack X type of hand. We could get also some king high, maybe a high, not a high, but some king high. King high to fold by delayed c betting. And we are still dropping frames. Well, I don't know. I don't know if the stream is watchable at all. Hopefully it is somewhat, at least. Let's try leading with the gutshots. Not really. Well, we could check raise. It's somewhat okay, but don't really like to check call that much. And check folding is still a bit weak. This guy really, this yes man, really likes to be limping at least. Classical limp style. On the MTT, if it's folded, to me this is pretty nice spot to just open shove. Definitely quite clearly profitable. Still had decent equity on the turn. And he seems to be limp folding quite a lot as well, which is pretty rare. Oh, that was quite nasty drawback on the MTT, but we still have 25 big blind. And basically, it doesn't matter that much how big our stack at this point is. Of course, it's way better if we have like 50,000, but basically we are still so far from the money. It's not really that big of a deal. I think I go for a bluff raise here with the flush draw completing. Only pot size behind. Oh well, pot size bet, and there is also flush draw on the board. I think I just fold right away. On the top right, we can see the turn, but I don't mind checking either because I think we can't really go for 3-3 to value. Should have been pretty clear 3-bet for the will length here from the small blind against button open raise, but people tend to be on the passive side usually. In the MTT, this is pretty decent spot to just check back. We have a high for showdown value, and this is also quite coordinated flop, so our fold equity is not usually not going to be huge. Well, let's see if we get any action. Don't want to bet too big because I don't think Villain has that much, so if I go like pot size or something like that, I don't know if the Villain is going to be calling anymore without any reads. But yeah, we could also go for overbet here. I think theory-wise that's probably something we should be doing. And went for limp trap on the top left. I wouldn't assume we'll land to fold much at all, so we'll just limp shove. Well, end result would have been same anyway, with the open shove also. But it's pretty nice to mix in that sort of hand in the limping range if you have a limping range from weaker stuff. And on the MTT I will be stacking off here. We have only like a bit over 20 big blind, so and it's going to be chip EV situation. Recently I have been running into pocket kings in these situations, like pretty much always, but in the MTTs, but well, queens this time. But yeah, don't really think we can be folding here. Oh, shooting out here. This guy is rake and he min raises with that sort of stack depth, which is a bit scary looking, so it's just fold. It's defendable hand, but I'm just a bit worried that he might have. Pretty weird that the villain doesn't bet king 9 here. This guy is limping always. Again, I would be kind of more happy if this guy would be just shoving, but I think I still kind of have to go with that probably. offsuit ace-9, I would have folded it here. No more diamond, thank you. Pretty nice looking flop. Well, we could just flat, but I think I will just go for shove here. Ace-9. Yep. Solid stuff, solid stuff. Pretty small c-bet, but I don't think we have that much showdown value with the queen height here. Let's go for like 3-bet on the bottom right. A decent blocker hand, not awesome calling hand, so like ace-10 suited, for example, I would be just flatting here. Don't want to be 3-bet folding and like that, but ace-10 off has less playability, so we can use it for 3-bet folding. On the top right, I think I will go for shove. Pretty nice stack depth for it, risk reward wise. Of course, flatting would be totally fine also. Both has good and bad sides basically. One of the bad sides tends to be shoving, that we are usually not getting called by weaker hand, but this time that did happen. Top left, we can't really do anything else than open shove. Or we can limp, but we really don't want to induce anything. Or like even if we limp and he raises 3x, it's kind of nasty situation in a way that we can't really fold, but at the same time we are going to be building the pot in situation where we don't really want that. And this guy goes for really big sizing. Let's just 3-bet, non all in. And that is spot where I will have no bluffs at all. And of course it's a high flop. Oh well. If I had heart, I would definitely not fold, but oh well, top left villain goes for kind of nasty hand to fold, but because we have the gutshot as well, but this looks really strong. We could have checked back, but I was thinking that there are quite a few hands that villain can still check call that we beat. And not too much point in c-betting here with the a-high and gut shot. When he checks, we could think about making sort of like thin value bet / protection bet. And shoving on the king queen on the bottom left, don't want to be raise folding. Well, this guy has pocket pairs at least. Queen 6 suited. Well, definitely not folding. It would be somewhat decent to shove as well, I think. Because we are less often being dominated by... And we are actually ahead, but it doesn't help. Oh well. What happens here? Yeah, this guy. Win raises, small blind calls. And on the outside table, we'll lane 3-bet it here, and it has gone check, 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 and we hit the practical nut or not nuts on the river. And he did call. I was thinking that he almost certainly has a height here. But probably that is around the maximum we can get. Just check shoving with this shallow stack with pretty good top pair. And on the bottom right we actually turn some equity, so let's try to stab. It's also extremely dry flop, so it's almost impossible for us to have any draw semi-bluffs here, so when we have one, it's pretty decent to try to use it. Well, top right has been one long heads up. And I'm just going to 4-bet shove. It doesn't really make that much sense to do anything else. And top right we have showdown value with the nice draw, so no need to bet here. Aces versus kings, and of course the king comes. Oh well. Well, some luck here as well. Of course, I would have preferred it other way around. winning the €25 spot. Well, we probably have the best hand of the top right pretty often, but at the same time, if we raise, it's kind of questionable how many weaker hands continue. So I think it probably makes more sense to just flat and keep the pot smaller. Wow. That was quite unexpected, and losing with the dominating hand. I should have played that one. Jack. Well, if our flush draw is alive, I think we can call, but with the 2 overcard as well, and sometimes we might be even ahead. I think we can still stack off tier, but well, too slow with the calling, it seems. Yeah, it's not great spot when we have such mediocre flush draw. Such mediocre one. Because if the villain happens to have bigger flush draw, then we are going to be very screwed. Okay, he limps steps again like this, so I will go for... We have some backdoor stuff with the 4-6 as well. Let's see what he does. Deuce 4. Still suited though. It's not really that great of a hand. I think it's quite marginal to defend, to be honest. I would have probably 3-bet shoved that suited king if the villain had been raised. And 2 bears on the on the river. Again, I don't think he has too much of a hand. Well, for some weird reason he didn't shove, luckily. Straight. Runner straight. That's the way. And now he hits the flush. One lucky guy. Well, seems like today is not a good day for bigger games. Usually at this point we have way more 25 euro ones running at least. I think A6 is kind of close to open shove because we only have one player a bit deeper. Or could have been raised and called against the big blind, folded against his two. And king 10 definitely calling hand. Well, let's take more 10 euro. 10 euro once 10. I think those three is quite close even in the nest here. And on the top right we want to size up with the trips somewhat. Of course it's pretty dry flop anyway. We can have some flush draws, we can have some gutshot stuff. And then we want to bet pretty big to get maximum out of the queen X. And this depends, some people might not fold even if we like overshove. Hopefully he doesn't check raised here, because then our hand is going to be more of bluff catcher side. I didn't really expect ace queen again because it should be 3-betting pre-flop, but yeah, we can see from these hands that some people might literally not 3-bet pretty much ever. At least with deeper stacks. Pretty standard shove here on the heads up. And on the heads up on the limped pot, our hand is pretty strong, decent queen X. So definitely c-betting. And one interesting flop on the outside table, because if we want to bluff anything, I think this is one of the most reasonable ones. And again, pretty coordinated flop and draw flop, so went for a bit bigger c-bet sizing. Basically, we should be c-bet those flops that much anyway, so we can also size it up from that side also, and protect our made hands more. Seems to be a really silent day. Like there's only 2 people registered into 25 euro at this point. And only one 25 euro game running as well. Yeah, I think I will go for bet here. Of course, it's ugly if the middle lane happens to check raise because we can't stack off. And we don't have the spade either. I think we just have to give up here. And once again set up on the heads up. Yeah, he had everything, it seems. Actually should have called that top left. Folding middle pair to small C, but was pretty bad idea. Yeah, 6-10 still a decently playable hand. Well, I suppose it starts to be on the more on the unplayable side, but not totally horrible. Let's put it that way. I will go for light race here with the 4-6 versus the limp. And then Jack is not quite strong enough here on the top left. Also no small blind, so there is less to steal. And now we would have very important flip, hopefully flip. Oh well. Seven 5 versus 7 pocket sevens. Well, in the heads up we could also check back, we have some showdown value, but at the same time it's extremely dry a high flop, so we usually get so much fold equity here. Well, I'm not taking another 10 euro quite yet. Let's see if we now have 3 players in the 25 euros. Well, that was set up. And another ace jack. Shoving suited jack ace. If it was ace 4 off, I might be folding, but shooter aces in those situations are pretty automatic to shove. King queen, I can min raise call if there is 3 bet, and it has a lot of postal playability, so if we get calls, it's not bad in the long run. But again, if I open shove, I usually don't get that many weaker hands to call, so that's the downside of shoving. And when ICM is not really concerned, it's more sensible to just min raise. And well, on the top left we are pretty deep stacked, so I think I will actually go for c-bet. And nice flop on the bottom right, pretty clear check back. Again, this way we get a bit more of those flush draws on these sort of situations. And of course going for value raise. Let's see if we get any action. On the top bottom left, I'm going to min raise fold. And again, we get quite close to nuts on the top left. Two bigger AXs on the bottom left. Well, that was unfortunate. $23,000 drop frames, so pretty unstable stuff. That's flat on the top right, still position pretty decent shooter ace, so not bad combo. I think we can go for raise, but it can be kind of tricky spot again to get that many weaker hands to continue against the raise. So even though we have the best hand really often. I was thinking about 3-betting 5-6 shooters here, but flop would have been pretty nice one. Well, let's see, but that a high. Not usually see betting too many of those a highs on those boards, but I think that one is pretty okay in a way that we can just try to deny some equity. Nasty river. I think I will actually go for kind of blocker bet here. I could have bet the turn, but I was just thinking that I want to have some check calls that I can easily check call, and it can be kind of thin to try to go for turn bet river. And I will just 3-bet pocket sixes here, but we are over 30 big blind deep with the big blind, so I will use non-all-in sizing. Of course, if the bottom calls, we are going to stack off on the basically any flop pretty much. How often you can run into bigger pockets? Well, king queen is pretty standard shoved here. Of course, it might look tilty when I do it right away after that losing hand. Well, we probably don't get any action, but on the bottom left, it's unlikely Willen has really much. Maybe he has a high or something sometimes. Well, if I don't get any action from the bigger games, I might quit this session. Sooner than planned. And I'm going to double barrel here on the bottom left. The top right we could open shove somewhat profitably, but it's a lot better in general to limp with this sort of hand. Well, let's check call. We have some showdown value. Min bet again. Well, we don't really get quite the pot odds to call for 6 out, so. And once again I get shoving spot against this guy. And pretty nice bluffing hand on the on the bottom right. Well, queen 6 we could just open fold it as well. I think it's still decent to sometimes limp. Pretty nasty board run. Let's see if we somehow get the showdown and are ahead. Kind of funny that he doesn't bluff with that hand. And going for check raise definitely with the top 2. On the bottom right. Well, we can go either way on the top right. Because when we have the bottom pair with the deuce, it's obviously really awesome if we get any hand to fold pretty much. So even though I don't usually bet here that often with the bottom pairs, then I think those absolutely weakest are kind of fine. And I'm not trying to value bet on the bottom right, I think, because I think his range is going to be somewhat tight, and in that situation he might be still having like quite a lot of better hands, even king X like that. Pocket 6s, well, I think I will go again for 3-bet here and stack off against the open raiser. But if this big blind happens to wake up, we can still kill up against him. Let's go for min 3-bet isolation on the top right. That's one of the situations we're using min 3-bet. 3-bet can make sense, and once again I run into bigger pocket pair. Well, this time other way around. Yeah, I'm mid stack, but not by huge margin, so I will just go for 3-bet gold here. And pretty nice flop with the 4 deuce, I would say. Not getting any action though. And we hit the straight on the, and another straight. A lot of straights. Well, king was ugly. Now the straight doesn't look even closely as good. I still need to call it here once at least. But yeah, I think he has the ace really often. Also makes the 3x pre-flop raise, and well, backdoor flush. That was a nice one. Queen 6, I think even in the Nash, yeah, it's going to be even in this range, so. Well, I could have checked back on the bottom right left, but I was thinking that turn gives so many double barrel possibilities, and I should get some respect if I'm barreling as middle stacked here. The bottom left, I think I still have to call. We have pair plus gutshot, and he can be still semi-bluffing decent amount. I think 3 barrel is probably going to be. Well, I think I still have to call it here, but I find those lines always kind of weird. That if you are going to donk bet the river, then why don't you check raise the turn already? At least to me, it seems kind of. Especially when the board doesn't change at all and so on, so seems pretty weird lines. But yeah, it did work this time pretty nicely. Well, let's min raise. So the problem is that I think we can't raise call against the small blind, but at the same time, if we happen to hit the set against the big blind, it can give a lot of value. Well, that doesn't really look like potting here again. Totally absurd lines. Donk potting flopped where I can have basically all the nutty hands, all 2 pair sets straight. Seems like great idea. I will just shove the king queen here against the 3x. Pretty nice risk reward. And well, let's shove the ace 3. We still have the blocker at least. And once again, setup on the heads up has been quite a lot of those. I think on the top right we can go for value bet when he checks twice. And on the top left our 6 should be good extremely often. But of course he has made some absurdly stupid pre-flop call and gets rewarded. 7, 8 or 8, 9 off, whatever. Well, I go for raise call with the ace-9 suited. And bottom 2, so let's see if we can check cross, check shove. King is kind of interesting actually. We could again go for check shove, but I think I will just lead. and probably losing. Perfect river. Those suck big time. Well, that turn looks nice. Well, King Jack again, we can go either way here. Well, that is pretty nice flop. Without hitting set on the bottom right. Pocket deuces. Well, we have over 20 big blind, but just set mine mainly. And yeah, we might ace queen queen, but again, basically whatever the villain has, he will have quite a lot of equity anyway. Well, pretty nice hand in a way in the top right, but when villain bets almost put here, I think we just have to give up. And at the top left, I have to call against the small blind if he shoves. Did he actually check call with the 6x? Not lead himself. Okay, again a situation where villain should basically never have a hand like that. Should be such clear preflop shove. But yeah, there are a lot of those situations where people show up with pretty surprising holding in these games. This guy hits everything, it seems. Full houses in every hand. King 7 is kind of close with the big stack being so shallow. And of course the small blind calls. And we have the same hand. Oh well. 25 euros are not my friend today. Again, such a weird line here. Not betting turn, which he should be doing if he has some sort of pocket quite often. Yep, 9-3 offsuit. Jesus. Yep. Yeah, that's the danger of making such small bets, that it might also induce bluffs. Well, whatever it was, it bluff or not, no idea, but well, that was nice river. Well, we turn some extra equity, but Jack is also kind of cards that is way better for the villain, so let's just check and see if we get something. But on the bottom left, we don't necessarily get that much folds on the turn. We might get some A high type of hand or some Queen 9, maybe Queen Jack, and such. Such to fold. So is the stream viewable at all? Or is it lacking as hell or something? Well, turning 2 pairs will then win bet. Well, at least we have a bit more €25 action now, 2 games. But yeah, usually at this point we should have been like have like four at least of those. The outside table, I open raised small blind 3 bet. Flop went check. If he checks again, we have best hand extremely often. Well, we have anyway, but I don't think we can really fold here. We are so high in our range and also block the spade. Not going my way. 3. And of course he has better one now. I don't know, maybe I don't know if he's aggressive. Might be that we are going to be beat here, but I mean, I think he was maybe the same guy that was playing earlier with some total trash against my cutoff open from the bottom or something, if I remember right. I'll have to call if I bet the turn. Well, split pot at least. Quite unlucky that the king happens to improve, I would say. And this is nice, but bet on the top right. Yeah, the top left, the ace-deuce type of hand is kind of problematic because we might be dominated quite easily and flop playability is so weak. I would kind of want to shove here with 4 deuce. Still suited, so we have some equity, even if he happens to call some hands. But I think we are going to have quite a lot of fold equity actually. But in here we probably don't have pretty much none, so. Double gut shots on the top right. Once again I run into pocket threes versus pocket kings on the outside table. Well, let's try to semi-bluff here on the upper right. Okay, well, we probably lost time just giving up here. King Jack quite close. Okay, well, I don't know. This session seems to be so badly running the games currently. I mean, on the 25 euros, that I don't know if I want to continue or not. Again, I have ace deuce. Now it's bit deeper stack. Okay, well, we don't get the possibility to call. That's pretty loose open in that spot, I would say. And big. Now we just need to win 10 all in a row or something. Well, first hand, I will just go for 3-bet here with the plan to stack off. Okay. That looks pretty absurd. Well, basically these two players both, basically what they did both pre-flop and this guy donk shoving like this tells that they are fish at least, so yeah, I think I can't fold here. Yeah, this guy has total trash and 1 outer. That's the way. Jesus. Poker can be sometimes pretty nasty. Yep. Ace, queen, club, thank you. suited queen is definitely profitable to open shot here, top left. Quite nasty. Basically, pocket 6 is guy. And when he limp calls, it was like 300, so he's definitely not making profitable play. By set mining it here. Well, a great bot odds here, and it's going to be empty side, but so interesting flop. Do we want to lead here? I don't know. That's the downside of checking, that then there's going to be those overcards quite often. Well, unfortunately he had bit better. And flush again. Let's try to go for check raise. Of course, fourth spade. I think I will go for bet fold here. Like if he has some set, PC players might quite eagerly call still. Well, pretty tough to believe that it's going to be bluff. But yeah, again, kind of nasty. Kind of nasty one. Well, luckily no flush here, top left. Uh, 7-9 would be decent limping hand as well. I think shoving would be tiny bit profitable also, but when it's a really marginal shoving hand, it's often quite reasonable one to use as limp hand, at least if it has postal playability. I think I check back here. I don't want to get check raised on the top left, so, and if he checks again, we can try to delayed c-bet. It's pretty nasty if we c-bet here and face check raise with cut shot and 2 over. have to fold so much equity. Oh well. I was blocking the aces, didn't help. Check. Not my session. Well, I don't know, it seems to be so little action today that I'm going to quit. Quit to these two games. Maybe we can try to do something on the heads up side. Well, that's bit too much action for ace queen. Well, that's one way to play trips. And not really flop we wanted to see, but let's try to see bet it down. Well, now there is 3 players into 25 euros, so I don't know. We had 4, but I don't know if we could get value anyway out of it. I could have raised sometimes on the flop as well, but and not folding. Well, we are blocking 5-4 as well. I suppose this would be a pretty decent hand to go for bluff sub on the river. Blocking flushes, blocking straights. This guy, at least so far, seems like one that doesn't probably shove too much, but well, first hand, and we're then making a quite brave looking line, but I don't think there is any value in betting the river. Should be pretty much close to impossible to be caught by weaker one. This guy seems like big maniac. Flopping the straight with the flush draw. I don't know, either way, I think it's fine. No fucking spade on the river. Well, even if he's maniac, I can't call it here. Well, should have probably called actually here on the bottom left. Top left seems again really absurd line. Maybe I should have shoved or something. Now I can't call anymore. I was thinking that if he makes like 300 or something on the turn, I would have subbed over here, but Jesus, this run. I've been really passive on the left heads up against the limping. Well, with that stack, that king 4 is actually value sum basically. There's so much ICM tax on the ICM tax here as well that I think I have to fold. And I can't fold this 9-6 against this guy. And he, well, had a bit weaker flush draw here. I was stacking off, but then I noticed the stack situation, and I think with the ICM added as ICM tax, it's kind of tricky. Let's see if our slow play is going to get punished on the I'm just going to limp shove the ace jack here. Of course, could also limp call, but fine either way. Well, this guy using 3x sizing. 3x open raises with 20 big blind or less than 20 big blind stack depth, so can't really call much, and he's raising like almost every time I limp, so maybe I should just open fold those type of hands. Nice looking flop. Well, that was actually just set up hand. I don't know if 5-6 is too wide to call, even though it's connected hand. Now there is at least 3 games running the 25 euro. But yeah, I'm going to end in these games. Well, at least we got something from the heads up SNCs. Kind of weird day that usually like after 9 there is going to be quite a lot of games running already in 25 euro, but this today was exception, it seems. And yeah, I will try to reboot my router again. I have over 40,000 dropped frames so far, so something seems to be off. Yeah, running pretty nice in this 10 euro game all-ins, but 25 euros that has been running has been quite horrible run. In all-ins, this is definitely shoving spots in this stack situation. It's going to be really close to any 2, I would say, in the NAS ranges, maybe even any 2. But 5-6 off is still quite a lot better than absolute worst hands. I will still fold against the button. Against small blind I would have called with this one. But now the situation is good in a way that if the button folds, well, there's not huge. This is quite close, but I think it's still going to be a bit better to fold. We can actually check that. Well, that was one huge setup. So yeah, this session was quite a lot on the minus side. 128 euro minus, but as said, those. I'm not sure, like, did I guess single 25 euro game, so I think the whole came pretty much from those 25 euro ones. But yeah, let's check. I had at least two two hands here. So if the villain is shoving 28%, it's not going to be. It's still quite a lot minus EV actually. So he needs to actually show even 36%, which is usually not going to happen. So I would need to shove something like this. Well, I don't think it's absurdly wide necessarily, but probably most players are not going to be that wide. So I like that one. And then there was this MTT hand I had actually before starting the session. This doesn't actually matter really what we put here on other stacks, but yeah. And it's 25 Andy and chip EV in big blind. Sure if I had zoom on. Well, hopefully something was visible anyway. So this was basically UTG guys shoving, and well, ace-9 off is going to be the absolute bottom in the chip EV. Of course, as said, usually I would imagine that villain is not going to have at least his biggest pockets, most of the time at least, so even if we tighten somewhat here, it's probably still going to be fine. So yeah, I don't mind that call, but fold would have been totally reasonable also. But yeah, crappy session result-wise at least, but that happens. I think not sure when I will stream next time. Probably maybe on Sunday or beginning of next week. But I will be informing about it beforehand. Anyway, bye for now.